All right, let's jump right into this explainer because today we're mapping out a genuinely wild shift in human history. We are going to look how we went from ancient communal rites of passage, the kind guided by village elders around a fire, all the way to the hyper-structured, data-driven machinery of modern digital marketing. I know, it sounds like a massive leap, but honestly, wait until you see just how deeply connected these two worlds really are.
So I really want you to think about this question as we go along today. Are our core identities still shaped by natural, collective rhythms, or have they been quietly hijacked by engineered consumer structures? Seriously, think about it for example. When you cross a major threshold in your life right now, graduating, getting married, buying your first home, is that transition defined by the community around you, or is it defined by the literal transactions you make?
To figure this out, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The rhythm of rituals. 2. The consumer society emerges. 3. Consuming to produce ourselves. 4. The modern rite, funnels. 5. Engineering the journey. And finally, 6. Alienation in the mirror. Let's get right to it.
Okay, Section 1, the rhythm of rituals, anthropological baselines.
Way back in 1909, ethnographer Arnold van Gennep laid out something foundational. He identified 3 very distinct phases of traditional rites of passage. First up, there's separation. This is where you detach from your former self, maybe through a symbolic act like cutting your hair. Then comes liminality. This is that weird, ambiguous middle ground where you aren't quite who you used to be, but you haven't really arrived yet either. And finally, incorporation. You re-enter society but with a brand new status. For a really long time, these collective, shared rhythms gave human life basically its entire structure.
Moving on to Section 2, the consumer society emerges, the shift in 20th century sociology.
Now, sociologist Jean Baudrillard draws this absolutely fascinating contrast between primitive, collective time and the modern consumer society we live in today. In ancient societies, time was just the natural rhythm of communal activities. It was working, it was feasting, it was living. But today, time is totally abstract. It's essentially an empty commodity that we trade for money. Baudrillard actually points out that when you buy a carton of pre-made orange juice, instead of taking the time to squeeze the oranges yourself, you are literally buying time. Time is now just this empty vessel waiting to be filled up by consumption. And in this consumer era, objects aren't just tools anymore. They are what Baudrillard calls signs. Goods now act as a whole language used to project affluence and, frankly, simulate happiness. It's a bit like a giant illusion. Baudrillard actually compared modern shoppers to Melanesian islanders, who, when they saw airplanes for the very first time, built these mock airplanes out of branches, just hoping to summon the real thing. And honestly, we do the exact same thing. We surround ourselves with the signs of wealth and joy, basically hoping they'll magically conjure up actual happiness.
Which brings us to Section 3, consuming to produce ourselves, identity as a purchase.
Think about your last big vacation. The tanning, the tourism, taking those endless photos to post online. Is this free time actually free? Well, Baudrillard argues that leisure is really just a mechanism to produce your identity. By buying that vacation, you are actively producing yourself as someone who is cultured or luxurious. Because if you just stay home and do absolutely nothing, you drop in the social hierarchy. Plus, you wouldn't have any Instagram content to prove you exist, right? We are quite literally consuming to produce ourselves.
And look, it gets even deeper than that. Sociologists like George Ritzer notice that our cultural tastes aren't really even our own anymore. They're entirely standardized. Ritzer calls this McDonaldization. It's this idea that the core principles of a fast food restaurant have basically taken over society. Efficiency, calculability, predictability. Our major life transitions are no longer guided by a wise village elder. Nope, they're guided by a standardized corporate machine that is purely optimizing for profit.
All right, Section 4. The modern rite, funnels, the new path of progression.
So here is where it all really clicks together. The digital conversion funnel has literally become our modern rite of passage. Marketers are systematically guiding us through 4 specific stages, exactly like those ancient rituals. Top of the funnel, or awareness, is basically the new separation phase, where you first realize you have a problem. Consideration is your liminality, where you're caught in the threshold doing research. Decision is your incorporation, that defining moment where you buy the product and assume your new status. And then loyalty, well, that just ensures you stay trapped in this manufactured rhythm forever.
Section 5, engineering the journey, identifying leaks and optimizations.
Okay, put this into perspective. Imagine 1,000 people beginning their modern rite of passage online, Suddenly, 700 of them just abandon their shopping carts. That is a massive 70% drop-off rate. People are quite literally falling out of the engineered transition. For a marketer, this leak is an absolute crisis. Why did they leave? Was the shipping too high? The modern elder, meaning the marketer, has to find that leak and fix the ritual immediately.
So to patch up these leaks, companies deploy incredibly sophisticated data techniques. We're talking AI-powered predictive analytics to anticipate what you want before you even know you want it. Hyper-personalization, constant A/B testing. They are effectively exploiting our deep anthropological need for transition and making absolutely sure we complete the modern ritual of the purchase. It brings absolute order to that empty time we talked about earlier.
Finally, Section 6. Alienation in the mirror, the psychological cost.
To wrap this up, Baudrillard uses the plot of this 1930s German film called The Student of Prague as a genuinely chilling metaphor for our modern condition. In the film, a poor student sells his literal mirror reflection to the devil for a giant pile of gold just so he can woo the woman he loves. At first, it seems like a great deal, right? But then, his reflection starts walking around the city, stalking him, and actually standing for him. It starts fulfilling his social contracts before he even gets the chance to. Driven totally mad by this, the student finally takes a gun and shoots his own reflection. And when he shoots that reflection, he falls to the ground in absolute agony. Baudrillard wrote that by killing his image, he is killing himself. You see, that mirror image represents our authentic acts, our real meaning. When we trade our true identity for the endless optimizations of a marketing funnel, we are basically handing over our reflection. We become completely alienated, reduced to just another data point flowing through a corporate system.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. The next time you seamlessly click your way through a digital checkout line, have we sacrificed our true communal identity to the mechanics of consumption? And if your major life transitions are now being engineered by A/B testing and AI, who is really designing your life's journey? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it fundamentally shifts how you see the systems operating all around you.